Hi everybody, it's Karen at Bible Based Homeschooling. We're trying this live video again. Lord willing, you can hear me and it works. I've been having so much trouble getting this to work, so we are trying again. And if it cuts out, then we'll have to start over, but hopefully it'll work this time. So I had fun the other day showing you guys what I'm doing for our homeschool planning. And if you have any questions or if you're out there and you're planning, jump in and talk to me because I want to hear what you guys are doing. But I have been in the midst of homeschool planning. We are starting actually officially not until after Labor Day, and we normally start right after Labor Day, but we're actually taking a trip that very first week. So we're sort of slowly starting before Labor Day, maybe like the end of August, and my daughter actually has started reading some books already. And then we will actually be officially starting schedule the week after Labor Day. So we're sort of getting off to a slow start. Hi, Cindy. It's so good to see you on here. So anyway, I love seeing that familiar name. So Cindy was on our retreat, and I'm still on my retreat high. So anyway, I wanted to show you what I'm doing today. Guess what? I'm not using a planner this year. Don't need it. I'm throwing it out. I'm using a notebook. So I'm going to show you how I'm going back to the basics in a few minutes on that. And I'm going to tell you why and all that stuff. And I'm going to show you a little bit of our language arts resources today. The other day I showed you how we were using Sunlight somewhat for homeschool, and I'm still sort of collecting piles. I still have my piles. I'll show you again in a little bit. Still sort of collecting books for my daughter for high school. If you didn't see the live video the other day, you can find that. It's still on the page, and that video I talk a lot about what we're using for science this year, which is Apologia, and we're using that for all different age levels, 3 different age levels. So I have, for any of you who don't know, a 2nd grader, a 6th grader, an 8th grader, and a 10th grader this year. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit about what we're using for each level. Some grades I'm combining different things, and then of course my high schooler, she's all on her own now. So, okay, the other day I showed you science. I showed you elementary, middle school, and high school, what we're using. Again, you can still find that on the Facebook page. That video is still up. And I also showed you how I'm in the planning stages for me right now are just making piles. I'm just making piles of what books we're using. So my high schooler's using Sunlight somewhat. We're using it very loosely. I'm just sort of following their guide for history and language arts, and Bible somewhat, because we do our own Bible study, but I am using some of their resources. So I wanted to show you my favorite language arts resource, well, 2 of them that I'm using for my younger grades today. And I'm going to put these links when I'm finished because I can't multitask. I want to put them in while I'm talking, but I'll probably mess up. So I'm going to put them all in when this video is done. So right now we're live, but if you're watching this later on or after, you will see that I'm going to put the links to all of the resources in the bottom. So 2 of my favorite language arts resources. Explode the Code. I use this for all of my little kids. I have used this, we're starting our 11th year of homeschooling. I've used this for 11 years because I started this when my daughter was in kindergarten, Explode the Code. I hate how it's backwards for you guys. I don't know how to fix that. We started this in kindergarten with the I think it's called Get Ready, Get Set for the Code. There's like A, B, and C. Hi, Jessica. Thanks for joining us. And it really taught her to read. It was great for phonics, and I've just always loved these books. And as I always say, once you find something that works, stick with it. I don't look at any other phonics. I just have always stuck with what works. Hello, Alegna. So there's always so many great resources out there. And it's very easy to look at things and say, oh, that looks good, oh, that looks good. And you're constantly sort of switching, not for the phonics. I've always stuck with what works. So we love Explode the Code, and I'm using it even for my older kids. Let's see, this is where we're starting for the youngest. He is going into 2nd grade, so this is Explode the Code. And I just love there's like these little doodles inside, and there's these little sentences that he has to read to me, and he has to check off which one is correct, and it goes with the picture. And then there's yeses and nos, and we always play the yeses and nos game. He says, do you want yeses or do you want nos? And then whoever gets the most wins. But there's little sentences, and they have to answer them. So for each lesson, there's words, and here you can see, I know it's all backwards for you guys, but he has filled in some of this. So we'll be finishing up this this book this year, and he hasn't finished it from last year. So we'll be finishing it up, and he fills in the words. So it sort of teaches spelling, but like I said, early on for the ABC level, the get ready, get set for the code or whatever it's called, those really help set the foundation for them for reading. And so he's going to be using this one. And actually my 6th grader, I ordered him one because he has a lot more struggle with not necessarily reading anymore. His reading has really come around, and he's doing much better in reading, but writing and spelling, his spelling is still not there. And I actually watched an extremely encouraging video the other day on Facebook Live for, oh, now I can't think who it was. I will find it and put it in the link when I'm done because it was so good. I cannot think of the name off the top of my head because I'm live, and of course I'll forget. My hair's sticking up. So anyway, what she was saying in this video was so interesting to me because we've always been very natural with language arts, and we have not done a ton of formal grammar, and even in the younger years we didn't do a ton of formal spelling. Now my daughter, who is now in 11th grade, when she was younger, you know, we used these Explode the Code books, and we just read, and she learned to read. And I remember, though, in like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, her spelling was terrible. I remember by 6th grade, she started getting it, and that's when she was really reading fluently a lot, like on her own and devouring books. And she says now, to this day, that she feels like her spelling and her writing, because she's a really good writer, even though I didn't give her a lot of formal training in writing, came from just reading really good literature and really good books. And now that she's in high school, we're working on tweaking the style and the essays and the, you know, the right way to write and the formality of it. And now we're kind of learning all of those skills. And when I watched this video the other day, it was so encouraging because it was saying how, you know, at this younger age when they're learning to write, they can't process like trying to spell and get all the grammar and all that stuff correctly. So just getting them to write and then dealing with all that stuff later as maturity comes. And she was saying even with professional writers that she has people submitting, you know, articles to her, and then they tweak them. And I thought about that for myself. When I write a blog article, I don't think about spelling and grammar and all that until after I've gotten all my thoughts out, and then I go back and proofread. So it was really interesting to me to see that video, and it helped me to realize not to be so overkill with language arts and not to get stressed. So all that to say, my 6th grader and even my 8th grade boy, their spelling is not great, but that's what this woman was saying in this video, that great spelling doesn't actually come until the teen years many times, so it's okay. So I was like, phew. So anyway, my middle son, he is in going into 6th grade. He will be using this one, level 5. I don't care. I'm not looking at levels or grades or whatever. This is the one that looks appropriate for him. And so, you know, it's still got these words and these fun pictures and these sentences, and it makes it a little fun. And this is really for him to help reinforce and to learn some more. Like I said, his spelling is not that great. So he's going to be doing one of these kind of for fun, but also to help practice his spelling. But like I said, it's a great relief to know that as long as we're setting the foundation to get them writing and reading, to see words and to get that fluency down, then the other skills come later. So what I have decided for my boys is, for writing, along with their Explode the Code books, And I'm going to show you one other language resource in 1 second. I have these journals left over for, hi Cindy, because you were on the retreat. Anybody who was on the retreat received one of these blank notebook journals, and I have a few of them left over. So I'm giving them to my boys, and I just want them to write every day. I don't want them to think about spelling. I don't want them to think about punctuation and grammar. I mean, I want them to get it right. But what I want the journal is just to get out their thoughts, to be able to develop those skills, and then we'll work on the spelling and the punctuation and the grammar. So I'm giving each of them a blank journal. See, I'm telling you, back to the basics, to get them reading and to get them writing, and to just, because they don't love writing at all. It's like torture. If you guys have boys out there, give me a like or something and tell me, is it torture sometimes to get them to write? If I ask them to write more than 3 sentences, I feel like I'm pulling teeth. My daughter likes to write. She's more of a language arts, but for them it's hard. So there's some of those thumbs up. So I just want to give them these books to help them just develop that skill of just getting thoughts out onto paper. And then we'll work on spelling and stuff. Now, my favorite language arts resource for these guys, so like that was phonics, and Explode the Code is more for really earlier elementary, but I am going to use Queen Publishing language lessons for all of the boys. So I have 2nd grade, 6th grade, and 8th grade. And I really love these. These are very Charlotte Mason style. I'm going to give you a link to this when I'm done, because again, I don't want to multitask and mess it up, but I'm going to put links in the comments when I'm done. So I have used these on and off, but more on recently in the past few years for my boys. They're very short lessons, which is very important to me for my boys, especially the younger ones. Short attention spans. I am not big on making them sit and fill out worksheets and making school drudgery. I am very big on hands-on learning, reading aloud a lot, getting outside in nature, listening to music, things like that, doing art, listening to a lot of historical fiction, read alouds is how we do history. You saw how we did science the other day. So these are very helpful because these are not just, worksheets, check off a fact, and, for punctuation and things like that. So these are for language, and they are very gentle, very short lessons, and they change things up every day. Sometimes they only take a few minutes, and that's okay, and my boys love that, but there's definitely progress made throughout the year. This one that I'm holding happens to be for my older son, and I know it's only going to be backwards on this video, but I'm going to try to show you. So he is in the middle of doing this one as well, because we did not start it early on in the year last year, so we just pick up where we left off. So he'll finish this one probably mid-year, and then I'll order him the next level. And I have ordered for they're in my shopping cart online. I didn't actually order them yet, but I am going to order for my 2nd grader and for my 6th grader. So they're all going to have this. The 2nd grader and the 6th grader are all going to practice with Explode the Code, just for practicing spelling a little bit, and they're all going to get a blank journal. I'm just putting this together myself. No fancy language arts program. Jessica, my stalker. Hi. It's so good to see your name. Hi, Brittany. It's really good to see you, and I love the little laughing faces. That's one of my favorite emojis. So let me show you inside. So why I love this. Like I said, every day is a little bit different. So sometimes it's all copy work, and these are Christian, so sometimes there's scripture to copy. So the first lesson here, there's a picture study. So if you are familiar with Charlotte Mason, that's part of her style. So there's a picture study and a narration, and they have to look at the picture and then answer the questions. Now, in the younger years, they may do a picture study like this where they'll look at it and then they just tell me, the questions, and I'll write them down for them, and then they can, as they get older, write it themselves. So this one just talks about some questions about the picture, and it just gets them getting their thoughts out. There's no focus here in this on your punctuation, your spelling, and your grammar. Then the lesson 2, there's a creative writing one. So here it's talking about the painting from yesterday. Choose one of the characters to focus on, and then write a story about what you think happened to the person. So that's kind of fun. That's a creative writing. So here was his assignment. Then there's some more copy work. There's poetry in here, sometimes scripture. And then let me get to, okay, so here's another one. This book is a little bit more focused on poetry. Here's limericks. Then we have one here that's parts of speech. So it'll talk about the different parts of speech. They'll have to circle different things. As you can see, each lesson is short. Sometimes they only take a few minutes. If it's something like that creative writing assignment, that will take a little longer, especially for my boys. But sometimes they only take a few minutes, but it's a little bit every day. So this is one of those books that we sort of use every day. There's certain things that we, try to make sure they do every day. Like, don't you feel like you got school done if you got math done? You read something. So this is something we'll do every day, and explode the code, and then the blank journals. So that's what I'm doing for language arts for my younger boys. My high schooler, she is in 10th grade, and we're using Sunlight. So she'll be reading all of the literature books from Sunlight, and there is language arts right within their study guide there, and writing assignments and things like that. So she'll be using that. One book that I should have here, and I don't, I would show you, but one book that I got last year that was on Ambleside online when I used that for her, for high school, for writing, which I think is a great resource, is called Writers Inc. I got it on Amazon used, which is one of my favorite places to shop for books, and it's a really great resource for anyone for writing. It has everything in there that they'll need to know for writing. So these are our language arts resources. Another resource I picked up on Amazon last year just because it looked kind of fun for my little guy is this spelling journal. I'll share the link below. There's all kinds of books like this on Amazon of all different themes. And I really like this. It was sort of just a very gentle, like sort of assignments and things. And there was a lot of copying and then coloring in. And then it got a little bit tricky for him. It started to get a little harder. It was kind of ahead of where he was at. So I kind of put it aside, but I'm planning on pulling it out again this year as like one of those every once in a while things. Not to do all the time, but sort of just when I feel like we need to change things up, or maybe we don't have a lot of time, or I just want to give him something different for variety. So we will use that as one of those every once in a while things. Now the other day, I also told you guys that we were going to be doing for history and geography for my younger ones. I want to do stories from around the world. We're big on read-alouds for history. We just pick a time period and we'll read books from that time period. We've done American history a lot. So I really want to do more of just more like a study about different countries, and so kind of incorporating geography and history together, social studies type of stuff. So I got this fun book on CBD. They were having a sale, and it's called Eat Your Way Around the World, and it has all different recipes for different countries. So I'm trying to put together a book list of this is where I'm at right now for language arts too for my boys. I'm trying to put together a book list for them to read books for their literature. And I'm also, so if you have any suggestions, put them in the comments so I can have those, a list of books, if you have suggestions for 2nd grade, 6th grade, 8th grade. I am looking for books that take place in all different parts of the world. I have a link on Bible-Based Homeschooling. I think I put it on yesterday. About exposing your children to, I can't think of the title, but I'm going to put the link in here, exposing children to different countries and the world. And that I'm planning on getting and using because it looks really good to teach my kids just more of a broader aspect of the world. So anyway, this is one of those fun books, just for when we feel like mixing it up. So we're going to use that. And then I wanted to show you how I'm planning this year because, this is our 11th year. So I have done it all. I have gone from the planning every 15 minutes and doing those work boxes. I did that way back when for 3 kids. I had all the boxes. I had 12 boxes, shoe boxes, the plastic boxes for each kid, had them all filled up. We did that for a while, and it was great when they were at a certain season, but I can't imagine all those boxes right now taking up my house. So we've done that. We've done the schedule where like I said, every 15 minutes we had to change it up. We've done the very loosey-goosey schedule, more of, I wouldn't call us unschoolers, but where I've sort of toyed with the idea of having a lot looser schedule. But what works for us is more in the middle. and where we don't have too much of a rigid schedule, but we also have a structure, because we all need a structure and we need to have some sort of a framework to our day. But for me, as the mom planning, I have tried so many different planners and systems, and I'm just ready to go back to the basics. I am so ready to just not be weighed down by a system and to just go back to simple. As you all know, I write at Simply Living for Him, and I talk all about living simply, and that spills over into my homeschool and keeping things simple. So I have this red, pretty file book that was empty that I stuck a notebook in, and this is going to be my planner. I actually just started writing. Look at that, pen and paper, no computer, no fancy printouts, no free printables, no expensive planner. I just made a list of what I want each child to use for their resources this year, and I'm very loosely trying to put everything together. And like I said, right now I'm in the pile stage. I'm making piles for everybody, you know, trying to find the things I have already from kids that I can pass down and what I need to buy. So I'm keeping track of that in my folder. And, you know, the reason I'm doing this is I feel like every year I put too much emphasis on the planner. Like, if I find the right system and the right planner, then my homeschool will be successful. And it's really not about that. I mean, sure, those things are helpful, but it's almost, for me, and I'm not saying this for everybody, for me, it becomes like a false sense of security. Like, if I have the best system in place or I have the best planner, then my homeschool is going to go well. And honestly, guess where my best resource for my homeschool to go well is? My Bible. Okay, so I need to have my heart right before I can even start planning. So I'm right now really praying every day about our homeschool and what God wants my children to learn this year, and what does He want our homeschool to look like this year. And then I'm just sort of writing it in this blank notebook. Now you're probably thinking, well, what about lesson plans? You know, what are you going to write in your planner every week? I have used planners in the past where they, you know, divvy up for your week and for your children, and you can sort of make plans. But I find that I just don't need it. It's not that they're not good, because I've used, actually two planners that I've used are the Well Planned Day, which I really have liked. But my favorite planner comes from Apologia, and that is Deborah Bell's Ultimate Homeschool Planner. The reason I love that planner, so if I were to buy a planner, that would be the one. That's the one that used to be in this red notebook. I had put it in here. That one divides up for, you know, up to 4 children, or maybe it's 6, but I think it's 4. And it has, you know, for every day. But what I love most about that planner is there's room in there for you to write down your prayers. There's room in there to talk about evidences of grace, it's called, like big things that happen during the week. There's room in there, spiritual stuff that you can write down. There's Bible verses throughout. That's why I love that planner the most. So if I were to buy a planner, that would definitely be the one that is probably my all-time favorite. But I found that I'm in a place right now where we've been going at this a while. It's 11 years now. We're on our 11th year. And I kind of have an idea what I want to do. I just need to write it down to make a list to kind of hold me accountable, to keep track, but I don't need a whole big system. I am really feeling the need more and more to just weed out any extra stuff. So for me, I'm just ditching the planner altogether, and I'm going with this simple notebook plan of just making a list and writing it down. Now, I have, where I live, I don't have to submit records, and I don't have to submit anything to the state. So I'm a little bit more fortunate in that way. But I know some of you out there really do need to keep a good record. But for my high schooler, I do keep records now because she is in high school, and if she wants to go to college, we need to keep a transcript and we need to do all that. So I'm going to show you what I have for her. Excuse me. Okay, so I have a binder. See? High school records. And what I did last year was I simply wrote down every day what we did. Now she has a lesson plan because we're using Sunlight somewhat. So that is already done for me. So we'll follow that as closely as we can, but I know that I'm not going to be a slave to the schedule, but we will follow it as closely as we can. Then I have printed out just a free official high school transcript that I filled out last year at the end of the year with what she did, and I have penciled in what we'll be doing this year, what courses she'll be taking. Then I have some other things in here that are just resources that show me, you know, what a child at this age needs, what credits they need, depending on what they want to do after high school. And then I have this broken up into her grades. Again, nothing fancy. I'm just writing it down on loose leaf paper. Her grades when she does tests. I'm not big on tests, but we sort of have to for high school. And then I have a section here where I'm keeping track of the books that she has read. So far, she's actually read 2 of her books for the year. Because like I said, we're going on vacation the first week of school. Because we're rebels like that. So I have gotten her a little bit of a head start. So I have written those down so I can keep track, because come May, I'm not going to remember, oh my goodness, what did she read, you know, way back when. So I'm writing it down. Now last year I got a little overboard. I literally wrote down every single day, like every single thing she did. Like 20 minutes of this, 30 minutes of this, because I was really feeling a little bit nervous about high school. But I realized that come the end of the year, nobody's going to look to see exactly how many minutes she did of everything, but I kind of kept track just for myself. So now I sort of at the end of the week will write down what we did. And then I have the area, like I said, for transcripts to keep track. And then I actually have a little section in my book to keep track of, she works part-time at our church 1 day a week, and she gets paid for 2 of the hours, and 1 of the hours is actually volunteer work. So I've been keeping track of service things. She also is on our worship team at church, so things like that. So I keep track of things she does for service and then also for work, just to kind of have a record. Nothing fancy though, just a binder, just a binder. And then in the back of the binder, I have all her tests and all her completed work and essays and things like that. Hi, Michelle, do you have an example of a high school transcript? This is my son's first year. There are so many resources for that online. The one I have here, let me see if it says where I printed it from. Go on to the Homeschool Scholar, Lee Binns. She has amazing resources for high school, and she has all of her resources and her webinars and her information and her books. They have set my mind at ease so much about high school. So I highly recommend Lee Binns, the Home Scholar. She has information on transcripts. This one I printed out. It says official high school transcript, but I don't know where I printed it out. I think it might have been on HSLDA. They have, see, it's all backwards on here, but they have official, you know, transcript or a template that you can get. And basically it just says the course title, the credit earned, and what their final grade was for that class. And that's really all it has on the transcript. But you can find a lot of that online. You're welcome. Does anybody else have questions, or share with me how you're planning? Do you think I'm crazy because I'm not using a planner? Do you plan really strictly? How do you guys plan? Like I said, I feel like we've gone through so many different ways and so many different methods. I'm sort of just tired. Like I realize I made too much of a big deal when they were younger. So I'm just sort of getting back to the basics. My younger ones, especially my second grader, I am not going overboard. I totally felt like when my other ones were younger, it seemed like they had to know everything in second and third grade. I kind of get it now that it takes time. We have all this time to learn. I still want them to enjoy learning. I don't want to make it drudgery. I never want to make it about grades. So this is just the way we're doing it. We are getting back to the basics. I'll show you my piles. They pretty much look the same as the other day. 1 second. See, still got piles. They don't look much different from the other day. They're just sort of, oh, there's my book in there. They're just sort of shifted around. But so that's all I'm doing right now is just making piles of and you guys again, making piles of books And then what I will do is when we are ready to start school, I will just give everybody their pile. We have a closet where we keep all of our homeschool stuff, and they can just pull out their stuff each day, go through their work, and put it back away. We don't have a homeschool room anymore. We don't have we have the space right now, but I use it for my office. I mean, I could certainly make it a homeschool room, but we pretty much just do school at the kitchen table, the living room, just wherever. My daughter usually works up at her desk in her room. Jessica says, the planners were never laid out. I know. I always felt like when I got a planner, there was always something a little bit missing. You're never going to find that perfect one for you. I mean, I even did the ones where you could print out like the free printables or you could pay for downloads and you would get like hundreds of pages, and I still felt like something was missing. For me, honestly, I feel like it's not that anything's missing. It's just there is no perfect. It's just, you really don't need all that. And sometimes I got more wrapped up in the planning and filling out all of the little boxes that it kind of distracted me from what I really needed to be doing. Being in the Word, praying over my homeschool, handwriting in a notebook is just as efficient, I think, if not more for me, because I'm not wasting so much time looking for the perfect planner, looking for the perfect download, wasting all my printer ink printing it out, or, whatever it is. Not saying those things aren't good. If you love planners, then that's great. I'm just saying this is kind of where I'm at for me. I was becoming a little bit of a planner addict, and I didn't want it to be about the planning. I want it to be about the schooling. So we are sort of just really getting back to the basics. Oh, somebody else had a birthday. I see Michelle. Thank you. Yes, yesterday was my birthday. And I was 41. And if anybody follows me over at Simply Living for Him, I was saying how I had a great day. We didn't really do much. My husband came home at the end of the day and I was like, I didn't do anything. My kids, they brushed my hair. My daughter played with my hair and made braids and all kinds of stuff on my hair. They made me coffee. My daughter made me gluten-free mozzarella sticks. And we hung out. It was really just fun. So yeah, I had a great birthday yesterday. Didn't do anything special but hang out with my kids. It was a lot of fun. So let's see, Edwin and Melissa, this is what you need. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you need it. I'm glad God had you stumble upon this video maybe just when you needed it. I really feel strongly about sharing with you guys. I'm so glad I got this to work today. Because I've been having so much trouble with this Facebook Live. But I'm glad I got it to work today because I really just wanted to kind of show you what it really looks like to plan. And, sometimes that just looks like this. It's not a big deal. And show you that I'm just making piles of stuff. It's not like as big of a deal as sometimes we make it. And I also, the other point was I wanted to be able to show you actual resources real on the video so that you could see what things actually look like. If there are resources out there that I have mentioned on the page or on the blog and you're interested in them, let me know, because as I put these videos together, I can make sure I have those and show them to you on the Facebook Live, because I think it's really good. Sometimes you just don't know what you're buying, and this way I can actually interact and show you what a resource looks like. So the other day I showed you all that Apologia science stuff. Again, if you didn't see that video and you're interested in Apologia for science, or they have lots of other resources, you can see that video on the Facebook page as well. And the links I'm going to put for the Queen Homeschooling, Queen Publishing, Sandy Queen. She puts out the language lesson workbooks, the very gentle Charlotte Mason style workbooks for language arts that I'll be using. I'm going to put the links in the comments when I'm finished with the video. And Explode the Code, again, I will put links in the comments for those. These are for my younger set. Oh, one thing I don't have in front of me that I do want to mention for the younger boys is Handwriting Without Tears. I am going to be using that as well. And that again is not necessarily an everyday thing, but a whenever sort of thing. Not that we don't do handwriting, but it's something that, like if there's not a lot of time, we may skip it, but we do use it mostly every day. And I have the 6th grader still working on his cursive, and I have the 2nd grader still working on his manuscript. And I just started using Handwriting Without Tears, I think a year or 2 ago. I wish I had it when my older kids were younger, because I love it. I have my 6th grader is a lefty, and he's a little bit more challenging in general. He struggles a little bit more with reading and writing and stuff. And that has been an amazing program for him to use, especially as a lefty. It was really hard for me to work with him on his handwriting. His handwriting was not very neat at all. It has improved so much with Handwriting Without Tears. So now I have started using that for my youngest one, and I really love that. I don't have it here in front of me to show you, but you can see that one online too. I usually buy these things at Amazon or CBD. And I think that is all the resources here. So if you guys have any other questions about planning, or you want to just chime in and let me know what you guys are doing out there. Oh, one other thing, I have some very exciting news that is not about planning or homeschool, but is for moms or women in general. As most of you know, we had a wonderful Simply Living for Him. Simply Living for Him is my ministry, and I write over on that page. You can check that out, simplylivingforhim.com, and we have a Facebook page. I talk all about living simple, and we live here on our new little hobby farm, and I share about that. So anyway, we had this retreat a few weeks ago just for women, and it was an amazing time. And we just booked it again for next year. We are going to have our 2nd Simply Living for Him Ladies Retreat weekend over in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania next July. I just confirmed it this morning with the lodges at Gettysburg. So you will be able to register for that soon. I hope we'll get that up. I also will have the sessions from this year's retreat that I spoke at available for purchase on my website. And I spoke on Living More Simply. The one title was the Remedy to Clutter and Chaos. And that's all about what I believe is Jesus is the remedy to clutter and chaos. So you can purchase that. And there is one on being a transformed woman of the Word, and one on how Jesus is all we need, that we need nothing else apart from Him. So those sessions from the retreat will be available. And if you'd like to join us next year, I am getting the information together. So we hope to make it even bigger next year, and just to get the message out to more women out there who are seeking Jesus above all else. I'm all about getting rid of distractions and living more simply in this world so we can focus on things that really matter, and that we can put God first in everything we do. So those are a few exciting things going on. Like I said, you can visit Simply Living for Him. I'm still over here making piles. Maybe by the next time I get this video up, the piles will be a little neater. They won't be as big, or they won't be as, all over the place. But I will just keep planning every day. Right now I'm in planning mode. So like I said, I'm just writing down in a notebook what I want to use. I'm going through the different books that we have and organizing it and getting ready to start school in just a few weeks. So thank you for joining me for this live video and for checking in on what we're doing for our homeschool planning. If you have any questions after this video is over, you can write them in the comments, because I will be answering them as I see them. Or you can always email me at Karen@simplylivingforhim.com, or visit us on the Facebook pages, or you can visit me on Instagram at Simply Living for Him. I am posting a lot of pictures of our harvest lately. We've been getting tons of veggies on our little farm, and you'll see a lot of chicken pictures and ducks and things like that over there. So if you're interested in seeing how we live the simple life, you can visit me over on Instagram, and of course on the blog at BibleBasedHomeschooling.com and SimplyLivingForHim.com. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.